This is the WAU X Plus, the brand new electric bike from Nottingham-based company WAU, which is packed full of tech and smart features. The popularity of e-bikes has been on the rise for the past few years, but relative newcomers WAU wanted to fill a gap they found in the market, that there simply weren't any long-range e-bikes out there. And so they've come up with the WAU X Plus, and with its impressive 100-mile range, are claiming to have the longest range e-bike in the world. Combining this best in battery performance with advanced security features, and innovative designs like their world's first indicator lights, this is certainly an e-bike that stands out from the crowd. I've been testing the bike for the past couple of weeks, and I can safely say that this is an e-bike that's worth your consideration. The WAU X Plus currently comes in just the one finish, sporting a clean glossy black design which I think looks really nice. The housing unit in the centre of the frame protects the computer and the battery, and does make this look distinctly like an e-bike, whereas you'll often find companies going out of their way to make their e-bikes look as much like a push bike as possible. What I'd say in WAU's defense is that this often places style over substance, and you'd end up sacrificing some of the security and range benefits that this bike prioritizes, which I'll come onto shortly. The WAU logo side lights help to create a more iconic design though, and combined with the innovative light system, creates one of the most striking e-bike designs I've ever seen. The bike comes with removable mudguards at no extra cost, as well as a handy kickstand, which I found myself using quite often, so I'm really glad that this was included. The bike also comes with a multifunction display, as well as an integrated front light, and of course the iconic rear super lights with indicators, but I'll talk more about these later. I think in terms of the design, WAU have really nailed it, and this is a fantastic looking bike. The only potential issue I see is that this only comes in the one frame size, so although this accommodates a wide range of riders, I think those of a smaller stature may not get along with this. One of the key mission statements from WAU was to design a bike using reliable premium components, and to avoid the pitfalls that budget e-bikes suffer from, where cheap build quality leads to a less safe and secure ride and incurs further costs down the line with inevitable repairs. The WAU X Plus is made from high quality components, a solidly built aluminium alloy frame, and the bike feels very well constructed. With the battery installed, the bike is reasonably heavy at 27 kilograms, but this does give you a sense of confidence in the construction, and I still found it light enough to maneuver and lift up to a mounting rack. The bike has been designed to withstand all types of weather, and has been constructed with anti-rust steel and durable ABS plastic to provide a water-resistant design, which is perfect for those typical British summers. Here's a detailed look at the components of the bike, which the enthusiasts among you may be interested in, so pause here if you want an in-depth look at the specifications. But for the rest of you, I want to take you through a rundown of the main features and controls. So starting on the outside of the handlebars, we have the front and rear brake levers, with the gear shifter over to the right hand side. On the left side, you'll find one of the optional add-ons in this thumb throttle, and finally the control system with the multifunction display. The power button is found here too, which you can use to power on the bike and illuminate the display. Now, this display is actually the upgraded colour display, which in my opinion is the one absolutely essential upgrade I'd suggest you go for. You can see here a breakdown of the benefits over the standard black and white display, which is closer to what you typically find on an e-bike. But it's really the bigger and clearer colour display and the advanced settings that I think are a must-have. The controls are very simple to use, with the plus and minus buttons used to adjust the level of pedal assistance, and the I button in the centre is used to cycle through the information shown on the display, for example your average speed or the total distance travelled. The indicator switch is located here too, and there's a distinctive click when snapping it into position. My only gripe here is that it doesn't show you on the display that the indicators are on, which would be a really helpful way to stop you leaving them on by accident. The button below the main controls here is used to manually turn on and off the side and rear lights, but the bike has an ambient light sensor built in, which will automatically adjust the brightness of the lights depending on the light in your environment, which is pretty cool. The colour display is very clear and easy to read, and certainly one of the better displays I've seen for an e-bike. When you're out riding, it's easy to glance down and quickly see your current speed, the bike's battery level, and your pedal assistance level. There's a good range of tilt available here too, so you should easily find a comfortable position to angle it, and on the whole, I was quite impressed with this. A couple of things to point out though, are that 1, it seems to be scratched fairly easily, and 2, that the central placement of the display may mean it's difficult for you to mount a phone to the handlebars as well. The varying thickness of the handlebars means you can only really mount the display right in the centre, and this could make it difficult, though I suspect not impossible, to find an additional mounting spot for a phone, and I know a lot of people like to use their phone for maps and navigation, so this is something to consider. I'd love to see a future version of this where the USB port serves as more than just a charging port for your devices on the go, and perhaps having a way to mirror your phone onto this display would be the ideal solution. Still, this doesn't change the fact that I still highly recommend you go for the color display option, which in large part is due to the additional settings it gives you, and you can access these by holding down the plus and minus buttons. Here you'll be able to see a lot of information about the bike and personalize your settings. For instance, if you live in the 21st century and want to use kilometers per hour instead of miles, then you can change your units of measurement. But my favorite setting here is allowing you to customize the increments of pedal assistance, which is awesome, and a lot of e-bikes don't let you do this. If you find yourself wanting more control over the assistance level, you could perhaps increase this to 1 to 9, or if you want to simplify this to low, medium and high, you could try levels 1 to 3 instead. So it's great that you can customize this to your own preference here. The advanced settings also give you the option to de-restrict the speed, which by default maxes out at the 15.5 mph legal limit here in the UK. Obviously, you'll need to check your local laws and regulations as to if and where you're allowed to increase this limit. For example, it may only be on private roads where you're allowed to use the bike with a de-restricted speed. I thought it was interesting that you can set this up to 25 mph and not just 20 as described on WAU's website, and I can confirm from my testing that this is the maximum speed. Speed de-restriction is only available with the color display, since this gives you access to the advanced settings, and using it does not void your warranty with WAU. But again, I should emphasize that you first check with your country's laws on legal top speeds with e-bikes. You may only need to delve into these settings once though, because riding the bike is simply a case of powering it on and then pedaling to set you on your way. So after a full pedal or two, you'll then feel the motor kick in and give you some assistance, as long as you're using one of the pedal assist modes, of course. And though you will feel a stronger acceleration at the start, the bike never jolts forwards or feels out of control. It may be an odd sensation to those new to an e-bike, but it quickly becomes familiar, and experienced e-bike riders will feel right at home here. The one criticism I have, which is really a reflection on all hub drive e-bikes as opposed to this particular one, is that it can make maneuvering around tight obstacles a bit tricky. If you come up to a gate and try to gently pedal around it, you may trigger the motor to engage and the bike to accelerate if you're not using the brakes to control your movement, which is really just a basic flaw in how the hub drive motors work. So this is something that regular e-bike users will be more than accustomed to. And within the first hour, I'd already learned how to balance the brakes and pedaling to shimmy around tight obstacles without needing to lower the assist level or switch the bike off first. But I thought it was at least worth pointing out to those of you who are new to e-bikes. How the motor essentially works is that it takes the effort away from your pedaling, but by offering you different levels of assistance, you can choose how much work the bike does and how much work you do, so you can strike the perfect balance of exercise and comfort. For example, I personally enjoy using the lower levels of assistance, so the bike just takes the edge off of inclines and gives me a hand getting back up to speed after stopping, which results in a very consistent ride and level of effort throughout. What's great about the display is that you can actually see just how much power the bike is using, so you can use this to help you balance your pedaling and control your battery usage. You'll become familiar with the acceleration and then the speed the bike will try to maintain for each level. If you drop down to a much lower gear or start to pedal more slowly, you'll then feel the motor kick in and the bike accelerate to try to accommodate any drop in speed. But if at any point you stop pedaling, then the motor will disengage and you'll gradually come to a stop, just like with a push bike. This is very much pedal assistance as opposed to full electric propulsion. For that, you'll need to purchase the thumb throttle, which allows you to accelerate and then cruise without pedaling at all. But much like the top speed limit, there are certain laws and regulations that dictate where and when thumb throttles are allowed to be used, so you will need to check your country's laws before using this. Having tested the thumb throttle myself, I have to admit that it's extremely fun to use, and I found it more useful than I first expected. Being able to give myself an instant boost up an incline, or even leaving my bike in a high gear, but still being able to pull away from standstill with ease, added so much to my riding experience. It's a relatively cheap add-on too, so I definitely recommend picking one up, even if you don't plan on using it to cruise without pedaling. One thing to point out with very steep inclines though, is that you shouldn't expect to go flying up them at high speeds. There's only so much torque these motors can provide, since they too are capped by laws, and you've got the maximum capacity motor allowed installed here. So you may find the bike speed drop down considerably on steep inclines, and simply cranking up the assist level or engaging the thumb throttle may not help you. Of course, you've always got the option to pedal hard up a hill, just as you would with a push bike. But the important point is that the WAU bike can still do the work for you, so even if you slow down, you can gently pedal away in an easy gear as the bike carries you up the hill. The WAU X Plus has simply been a joy to ride. It is, after all, first and foremost, a bike, and the cycling experience beyond the e-bike element was equally as enjoyable. The bike is surprisingly quiet under use, and you can only really hear the motor at the higher levels of assistance, which even then is reasonably quiet. This is an electric touring or hybrid bike, so although it's not designed for off-road use, the tyres felt tough enough to handle even the gravel and unpaved terrain I encountered, and it was reassuring to have the 3mm anti-puncture protection too. The Shimano shift lever gave quick and reliable gear shifting, including rapid-fire shifting down 3 at once, and the low friction meant that it requires minimal effort to do so as well. The 8-speed cassette provided a good range of adjustment for comfortable pedalling both slowly on an incline and fast over flat terrain. I was pleased to see the bike is equipped with reliable hydraulic disc brakes too, and I always felt confident that I could bring myself safely and quickly to a stop, regardless of the weather. I think the saddle is the one aspect riders may not find the most comfortable for long-distance rides, so it may be worth opting for the dual suspension saddle instead. The standard saddle is quite firm and has more of a sport-style design, so those unaccustomed to such saddles may find it uncomfortable after a while. By far my favourite aspect of the rider convenience though is the fantastic light system. Both lights are fully integrated and are powered by the bike's battery, so you never have to worry about charging or replacing their batteries. If your bike is charged, then your lights are ready to go. The front light is very bright and provided good visibility for me as the rider at night. It doesn't seem to have multiple lighting modes as some lights do, but it was good enough for me that I didn't feel the need to replace it with my own front light, so the fact that it was fully integrated into the bike and activated by a simple press and hold on the plus button made it extremely easy to use. But those iconic rear superlights are really the star of the show, creating both a great looking design and providing excellent visibility for other road users. The lights are very bright, and there's a clear distinction between the rear lights, the brighter brake lights, and the amber indicator lights as well. The indicator lights especially are a really nice addition, and though I don't think they should replace traditional arm gestures, I think at night time when your arm gestures perhaps aren't visible, then the indicators will become invaluable. I do wish that the control buttons were lit up with LEDs though, because at night you have to go by feel when pressing them, which is doable, but being lit up would make this so much easier. This innovative light system is perhaps the standout feature of the WAU X Plus. They're fantastic for road safety and make this an awesome looking bike to use at night time. One aspect that I think is even better than the lights is security, which this bike does better than most. It starts off with the anti-theft alarm system, which you can control using the included key fob, just like a car key. One button to lock the bike, one to unlock it, and the final two will trigger alarm sounds, so you can manually trigger the alarm or simply use this to help you locate your bike in a busy bike rack. With the alarm set, the bike is sensitive to both tampering and movement, so any theft attempts will be met first with a warning alarm, followed by the full alarm, which is very loud and should act as a good deterrent. Backing this up though is a 24/7 live GPS tracking system, so you can use your smartphone for real-time tracking of the bike. Using the One-Way Track app, you can monitor a ton of information about the bike, including its live and recent locations, any detections of motion, and any time the bike is turned on or off. For each alert, you'll be able to see exactly when and where the alarm was triggered, and the activity that caused it too. You can view any previous journeys here, with your speed and total distance tracked the entire way, and with the geofence feature, you'll be alerted if the bike enters or leaves a specified radius, so you can see that the security features are really in-depth. You're still going to want to use a D-lock to protect the bike as well, but at least if it ever did go missing, you've got a lot of tools at your disposal to help you get it back, and it's reassuring that you're able to track the bike's location yourself. The app interface can seem a bit overwhelming at first, and it is prone to the odd bug, which requires a restart. The good news though is that WAU are currently working on refining this into their own WAU app, so the user experience should improve in the future. It could be a good opportunity to add more functionality to the app. For example, I'd like to see the bike's advanced settings integrated into the app, just to make things a bit easier. I should point out though that whilst the app is free to download and use, customers will need to pay a fee of around £10 per year for the tracking data. It's obviously a very small amount to pay for security for your bike, but it's a shame this wasn't all included into a more streamlined purchase with the bike. Completing the security package is the dual lock system used to secure the battery. You'll need to use 2 separate keys to gain access, so there's yet another obstacle in place for a potential thief. And inside this compartment is the WAU bike's single greatest feature, the battery. Using a simple plug-and-play system, the battery can be easily removed, replaced and carried using the handle. One of the bigger benefits of the WAU bike is that you can charge the battery wherever you like, and you don't need to be tethered to the bike whilst you do so. So if you want to leave your bike locked up in a garage but bring the battery inside for charging, for example in the extreme cold winters to keep the battery protected, then that's an option for you. If you fancy taking just the bike out for a ride, then you can lighten the load by removing the battery. But it also means that in the future, as your battery starts to age, you can easily swap it out with a replacement and your bike will be basically back to brand new. The one drawback with removing the battery is that you'll no longer be able to use the alarm system, and I really wish there was some kind of non-removable battery reserve in place to maintain security until the main battery was placed back. But convenience is merely a secondary benefit, and it's the huge 100 mile plus range that sets the WAU X Plus apart. I personally took this bike well over the 100 mile mark on a single charge, and it had plenty of battery to spare, though admittedly this was using the lower levels of assistance. You'll obviously burn through the battery much faster if you're using the higher levels, or repeatedly using the thumb throttle, so mileage will of course vary. Still, this kind of range for e-bikes is normally unheard of, and I'm pretty confident in WAU's claim that this is indeed the longest range e-bike in the world. What's more is that once the battery hit 0 and I no longer had pedal assistance, the display and lights were still functioning. I left them running for over 5 hours straight and they were still going strong. So that's really reassuring if you ever happen to run out of battery but still need to cycle home in the dark. My experience has been with the flagship 900 Wh battery, which offers the 100 mile range. But there are 2 models of the WAU bike, and the second cheaper version comes with a 375 Wh battery, translating to a more typical 40 miles of range. There's otherwise absolutely no difference between the bikes, so you can just pick the battery size that suits you best. As awesome as it is to have that huge 100 mile range on board, it may be the case that your regular journeys will all be under 40 miles, and if you charge between journeys, then the smaller battery will be enough for you. With the included charger, it'll take you around 4 hours to charge the smaller battery, and 8 hours to charge the bigger one, but you can purchase a supercharger for the bike which will halve the charging time, so that could come in handy if you need to top up in a pinch. So the bike is on sale at $18.90 for the 40 mile range model, and $24.90 for the 100 mile version, but WAU were kind enough to offer an exclusive discount code. If you want to buy through the link in the video description, then you can get yourself £100 off using the code InsideTech. The bikes are designed, manufactured and tested here in Britain, but shipping is available across the UK and the EU, and there are some special shipping options available to US customers as well. Just get in contact with WAU for the details. All bikes arrive built and ready to go, with all of the tools, keys and instructions you need to get yourself out on the roads. Only you can say which of the 2 battery sizes is right for you, but I would highly recommend you pick up the colour LCD display as a minimum, and possibly the thumb throttle too, to maximise your riding experience. I think the pricing is pretty competitive when you look at the rest of the market. Clearly this is no budget e-bike, it's a flagship, and the feature set shows it. But there are plenty of competitors at, and even well above these prices. It's an expensive investment, but the emphasis WAU places on security helps you to protect that investment. The mechanical components of the bike can be serviced at any bike shop, and the plug-and-play nature of the battery system means you can easily replace it and further increase the bike's longevity. If I were to sum up the pros and cons, then the WAU bike's USPs are of course that incredible range, which is arguably its greatest benefit over the competition, those iconic super lights and the indicators, and also the smart security features with the alarm system and the app. In terms of drawbacks, I mentioned that the one frame size may not suit all riders, especially shorter people, so I expect that will be an important factor to consider. I also talked about the potential difficulty in finding space to mount a phone to the bike, and also that the app could do with some refinements. But in fairness, WAU have already said this is coming. I think WAU have done a great job with designing the bike, and it does occupy a unique position in the market with that fantastic battery life, so I can definitely see this being a popular choice. I've been impressed by what the e-bike has to offer, but also by the commitment, customer service and the work ethic shown by the WAU team. The We Are Underdogs team may be a relatively new company, but the WAU X Plus has been refined and improved to now compete with the very best on the market, and is certainly no underdog itself. If you have any questions about the bike, then do leave them down in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.